Oh, yeah, heck yeah,
Find the best.
absolutely. Like that.
Still not.
Comments I haven't looked at.
We're like.
Every week.
Exactly.
Something should be there.
Our county.
Also, yeah, that's what I was hoping. 10 fonts.
And then we can just
Summarize some
the
up.
whole thing.
Pat myself on the back. Yeah, need the insult. Let's figure it out.
Was there a question?
I had a brief that was
Do a
due
lot of
today,
those,
and
like-
so I'm gonna be
They're
trying.
like, put this together. I'm like, okay.
I have to go back
From people, and I'm like,
to all that work.
perfect. That's how it works. Going. Why?
After the meeting, I want to catch you.
There, one problem though is that Netflix, they have to make money.
The parking lot.
Exactly what.
For some reason, when M sent out the safety report, I figured that the lieutenant was gonna be. The Subaru that's parked under the stop sign never seems to move. But I'm sure I know who that belongs to. I kind of assumed that. Wasn't positive. But by the time they start parking in there. Too many rigs bigger than mine. But there are a few big red ones that might not be able to get, turn and get down the street. Yeah. Oh,
Involving Gavin, and I just now noticed that the meeting's actually been going for 2 minutes. So we might as well get started. We'll start as we do with our land acknowledgement statement. The Chinookan peoples, known as the Clackamas and Cascades, are the indigenous people of the land now inhabited by the city of Wood Village and other areas of the Columbia River. The village of Nechakli was located near today's Blue Lake Park. Ancestral life of these peoples included a seasonal round of resource gathering and stewardship from the Wapato fields and fishing areas of the Columbia River to the cedar and huckleberry gathering areas of the High Cascades. Introduced disease from early settlers dramatically reduced the number of these people. They signed the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 with the United States government and were forcibly removed to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of these lands since time immemorial. We also acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous Native American families today. We are honored by the collective work of many Native nations, leaders, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, healing, and creativity. And we are honored to be guests upon these lands. I'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. If you haven't been here before, the flag's behind you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Now we will open the floor for citizen comment on non-agenda items. Greg, you mentioned earlier that we have a comment.
Yeah, there was one comment that we received. It was a walk-in, and they observed that none of the signs out front are in Spanish and said our sign should be in Spanish. And just so everyone is aware, we are working on, especially the park signage, especially using more pictorial. So it's not just one language specific, but using pictures because we have, a large Russian, Ukrainian population. So that's still in progress and not sure exactly which signs they were talking about, but clearly, we're very sensitive to making sure everyone has access to information.
Thank you for that, Greg, and person that came in. And we'll close the floor for citizen comment. And invite to the dais our House District 49 Representative Zach Hudson for a legislative update.
Thank you, Mayor Hart and members of the council. My name is Zach Hudson, House District 49. Troutdale, Fairview, Gresham. I'm happy to be here today to quick update on how the 2022 legislative short session went, what we're looking at for 2023, and also to invite you to share your thoughts now or in the future on things that you'd like to see, us work together on from a state legislative policy point of view. We did a lot of great work in the 2022 short session, despite it being only 5 weeks long. We made some really important investments. One of our priorities was economic recovery. We increased loans to startups and small businesses. We invested in high-speed broadband. We passed a bill regarding restitutions to small businesses after burglaries. And made a big investment in direct payments to low-wage workers to help those most affected by the economic downturn and the pandemic. People experiencing houselessness, of course, are, as I think, a shared concern of all of ours, and the legislature acknowledged this in 2022 with a $400 million statewide investment to help fight homelessness. Part of which has been allocated to Multnomah County. And so we're looking forward to working with Multnomah County on making sure that investment is used for local projects that help those who are living in our district. I'd also like to add that as an individual office, we worked really hard to secure $2.9 million worth of capital construction funding. So this wasn't from the $400 million. This was capital construction money, which we were able to bring to the district to help a service provider called Cultivate Initiatives create a workforce navigation hub. That's something we're really excited about, and We're going to be working with Cultivate Initiatives as this goes forward, and think it has a lot of great potential to help those who are in need, who are working to get back into employment, or those who are already employed to advance that further, and also to help those who are experiencing houselessness and looking to stabilize their. The legislature invested $150 million in summer learning to help combat some of the disrupted education that students have experienced over the past 1.5 years, as well as investments in violent intervention, prevention, climate resiliency, and we also passed the private forest accords, something that the environmental groups and timber interests have been working on negotiating and hammering out for a couple of years. We've brought those to a conclusion, and I think we found a really great compromise to move forward with healthy forests that still allow some economic activity there as well. We're looking forward to 2023 already, and right now we're just narrowing down our focus areas for what we want to work on. But one of those is definitely in connection with the City of Wood Village, and our office has been working with City Manager Greg Dirks on measures to improve and preserve affordable housing in the form of manufactured homes and mobile home parks. And so although we're still working on specifics, it's definitely an interest of ours because of the impact that manufactured homes and mobile homes have on increasing housing supply, which is one of the biggest factors when it comes to helping people get housed and stay housed. We are also looking forward to working with Multnomah County and local cities surrounding the Community Resilience Hub, which is a Multnomah County project. So we're working with Commissioner Stegman. The Community Resilience Hub would be active year-round, but it would have a dual purpose of being an emergency shelter for weather disasters, for heat waves, for natural disasters, evacuations from fire, potentially, anything that might need a central location where people can get immediate aid, and that's also set up to be able to quickly distribute or house displaced people in the event of an emergency. This place would already be established and be ready for that eventuality. So that's something we're really excited about too. Anyway, I would love to take any questions that you have or hear what Village is interested in working on.
Yeah, Councilor or Representative Hudson, appreciate the update. Can you expand a little bit more on the Cultivate Initiatives Workforce Hub and what that is and does?
Absolutely. So Cultivate Initiatives is a great organization. They're a service provider that really grew out of this grassroots effort of neighbors helping neighbors and the unhoused members of our community helping themselves and each other. And they grew into a nonprofit that ended up being one of the only nonprofits in the housing services sector, or the houselessness services sector, which operated only in this area of East County. So of course there are other service providers that are around the county, but that particular one is local and special to us. And they've been doing some great work. Unfortunately, their current base of operations has been condemned, and they're having to move out of it. And so it came to us for help to say, could you help us find a new place to operate out of, because we're about to lose our lease. And so the idea grew from there. Instead of just moving to developing something new that could be really effective in providing services, not only to people who are experiencing homelessness, but to a longer term effort of getting employed or stabilizing employment or advancing employment. And I am hoping that in the future I'll be back with updates and hopefully like a tour or some visit, but that is still in the future. It's a long process.
Great, thank you.
No, I didn't hear the manufactured home and what was the other structure that?
Mobile home parks.
Okay, all right. No, cultivate initiatives, I'm glad you asked it, the question, because I know that we're seeing some good results from working with them also here in the city.
When the specific work around manufactured home parks and mobile homes is expanding that co-op program through CASA of Oregon and understanding the funding gaps and logistical gaps and trying to do state level fixes to those to actually make the model more successful for more facilities.
Good,
That's what we're working on.
good, thank you, Greg, I appreciate that.
But just kind of to piggyback off, that initiative, because obviously mobile home parks is big in our area. So is there anything that the community can do to help and push that or help aid in any resources? Or how can the community get best involved and behind some of this effort?
We'll certainly let you know. I'm talking to the chair of the housing committee, Representative Fahey, and also Representative Marsh, who has worked a lot in this area. She represents Ashland and Talent and Phoenix, which were greatly impacted by wildfires, and so many people were displaced, and manufactured homes and mobile homes were not only important before the fires, but then afterward in helping people recover. So we're talking to them because, of course, this is an important issue for many communities statewide, and we want to make sure that we come up with something that fits the needs of other Oregon communities as well, has enough support to pass committee and pass on the floor, and then also squares with what Oregon currently has set up in its constitution as far as what the state is allowed to do or not do when it comes to holding funds for a private organization. And we've not worked out all the kinks yet, but the long-term goal is definitely to not only increase the availability of housing, but increase the control that residents have over their own housing or over their own communities of housing.
And then can you speak a little bit of the small business loan mentioning?
So this is, the state has already been supplying loans to businesses through Business Oregon, which exists to help support and encourage businesses within Oregon. But we increased the amount of loans available and increased the types of loans available, just so that we could reach more businesses who wanted to either start or expand.
And 150 million for summer learning, is that similar to kind of what happened last year for the summer learning, or?
It's very much up to school districts. There are some guidelines in how they're required to use it, but the state isn't really micromanaging it. It's taking the approach that districts each have their own individual needs that they can determine best. It may look different between a rural district and a suburban district and a more urban district, but essentially, yes, it's to help students who failed classes, largely impacted by the difficulty with online learning, earn back credit to help students who haven't been able to really get re-engaged with in-person learning back to a more stable position. It's to help students who have special education goals, who need compensatory services for learning loss that they've experienced, get the more intensive, more one-on-one help that they might need. But it's largely up to the districts how they arrange it.
The violence prevention that you mentioned, is that in conjunction with the funds that Gresham got, I believe, $1 million for that initiative?
This is an additional thing.
An additional,
Right, so this was some statewide initiatives. And it's a sort of a package of initiatives. There are multiple things in there. But the Gresham funding that was also brought in through a capital construction grant was for a specific program that they've designed that has to do with reducing violence by engaging youth through mentorship and through activities. And so, yeah, there's funding coming at this sort of general problem through a lot of different directions, and that's just one of them.
can different organizations apply for that type of funding, or is it already dedicated to certain organizations and certain initiatives?
You have an idea that you want the state of Oregon to fund, talk to me. Let's make a plan. Again, we can never guarantee anything because a whole lot of requests go in. The Ways and Means Committee goes over each of them carefully, and they can't fund everything. But I think if we have a good, solid plan for how we're going to use state money to improve our community, we can make a good pitch. And I'd love to team up on that.
I'll be reaching out.
I think you and I were at the same event last night where I'm doing with Cultivate Initiatives and why we're in such support of. Lost our groundskeeper. The county, because budget and staffing issues, having trouble maintaining rights of way on county-owned roads, and so maintain rights of way along. Johnny and the team out to speak. They joined your staffer Sarah for a meeting, and so we're really looking forward to that new hub, and hopefully, a little closer to us than 122nd, because there's lots of volunteer opportunities that one can themselves of cultivate, and they would get potentially more East County volunteers if
Absolutely.
very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Okay. Next up is a review of bills paid. Does anybody have any questions or comments about bills either that are on the top sheet or that were in the staff report? None. We have the consent calendar. I did send one note to M about the language around what transpired when we were asked about having making a pledge that the street stub between Donald L. Robertson Park and Tree Hill would never be. And of course, that ended in a 2-2 vote. The language said that something to the effect of
And
Passed.
passing, it failed.
2-2, and then at the end it said in. So they changed the language to take the word passed out. And I signed off on it. Comments about the consent calendar? And entertain to approve the consent calendar.
Move to second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Consent calendar passes. Next up, I have one of the privileges that's afforded to the mayor, and that's to make proclamations. This is a proclamation that we make each year at about this time, and enjoy making it because I'm very proud of our Public Works team and the excellent work that they do. Our city looking good and functioning well. And so this proclamation is in acknowledgement of Public Works Week. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to the sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people in the city of Wood Village. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry, sorry, I'm getting old, is vital to the efficient operation of public works and programs such as water, sewer, streets, and public buildings, solid waste collection. And whereas the health and safety and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services. And whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore, I, T. Scott Harden, Mayor of the City of Wood Village, do hereby designate the week May 15 to 21 of 2022 as National Public Works Week. And I urge all citizens to recognize the substantial contributions they make to support the health and safety and our quality of life. And this is given under my hand and seal of the City of Wood Village on this, the 10th day of May, 2022. I've signed at the bottom. I'm really proud of our Public Works team and the work that they do. And I hope I know that on 19th, there actually be a Public Works a luncheon to celebrate teams from around the region, and it will be here at Wood Village City Hall.
And there are about 80 people expected at that luncheon. So
Excellent.
big deal.
Good. So next up on our agenda then is something that we've been very much looking forward to, and that's appointing a new counselor to fill the unexpired portion of former Councilor Loy's term. So you all know, council, we felt that we've had to do this a number of times, maybe too many times. For instance, I came to council originally by appointment in 2011. And so we wanted to sort of standardize the questions we're asked, establish a rubric around, sort of our listening and what we hope to hear from those answers. And then ultimately a score sheet. And so as we interview each of you, we'll be writing a score for your question. And then the person with the highest score will be appointed the new counselor. Tie, we break the tie with coin toss. Do the interviews in the order that people signed up to be interviewed to potentially be appointed to the position. We're going to alternate reading the questions and scoring your answers, each of us, and then obviously we'll share that score with you. We'll start with Mark Clark.
Mayor, maybe before you do that, and I don't know what our candidates received in the mail, but why don't we just take a minute and let them know why this is done in an open session. Interviews and then your interview discussed openly is not something that's routine, but there is a reason for that. So.
The public meetings law requires
It's pretty much just 192/660, which outlines the executive session, expressly prohibits this discussion from being an executive session.
Right. For the average employee, if the council would appoint, you would that executive session and then come out and make the appointment. But for an elected or appointed position, it all has to be done in public. So that's why we're meeting in
We hadn't assigned the questions yet, but just in the interest of some sort of linear order, we'll start question number one with Councilor Minor, and then I'll do two down the dais and wrap back around, if that's all right.
Oh, is,
Mark, you want to come
come
up?
on. And I think all our candidates.
Well, actually,
Go ahead.
I forgot one portion. I'm sorry. We want to offer each candidate
Oh.
up to a minute to tell us why it was that they applied before we start the question.
I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Mark Clark. I live at 2330 Northeast Shamrock Drive in Wood Village. Makes me eligible to be a candidate to serve on the council with the rest. And I have served on the council in the past 3 times. Would like to also say that it was 3.5 years ago that I've never resigned from the council. I've been on it 3 separate times, and each time is because first time I ran and won and nobody ran against me. Each time that I've gotten off, it was because I had other things that I needed to do. And this last time was 3.5 years ago, was to support my Indian tribe, which I applaud the council for supporting Indian tribe that we do with the Grand Ronde Indians. That support that I did over the past 3.5 years prior to that, I was able to get our tribes securely and financially set up. They were broken and they were busted flat, and now they have secured approximately 25 acres of land. We have a permanent office downtown in California, and they're well on their way to managed without a casino. And a goal that I had in mind at the beginning of that is so that they would not become dependent in that area and that they could do it without one. And it's been very successful. It went to a vote by the tribe to do so. I've since been able to get many of them educated, and I was on the council for many years, since 2015, 14. Now I am considered an elder of the tribe, where I still help them as far as they'll call me and say, hey, how do we do this or whatever, but it's now being taken over. It's just so exciting to have that happening. And I just applaud them for all of the stuff. They're doing a lot of land cleaning and survived these fires in California, and just doing absolutely tons of good, really good things for the kids. We're learning our language. And just wonderful things that are happening for them. So this has given me an opportunity, and I did promise Mayor Hardin back 3.5 years ago that I would come back to the city council, and this opening came up, and so this is what. Questions now.
Sure. Well, Mark, you've answered certainly part of this question, but what in your background, professional or personal, draws you to want to serve the city as a city councilor?
Well, my career started in the military, and I worked in public works 10 years, and I went straight. I owned a couple of businesses after I got out of the service, and an opening came up for a water superintendent in a small town not too far from where I lived. I applied for it, and I got the job. 2 weeks later, they had the opening as a director of public works, and they asked me if I would fill both those positions, which I did. And the only way to move up in a city is to go to a larger city. So I did this for 13 years altogether. And then I decided to move up here to the Northwest, where my wife is from, and we ended up here in Wood Village. And this is where I served on the council after many years. So this is how I ended up here.
Okay, thank you.
Our question number 2 is, what is your definition of leadership, and how would you show your leadership style on the council?
A definition of leadership is to go out, if we have something that we want to get involved in, is to go and learn everything that I can for it, and get information from the city employees as much as I can, and then do the research. I love to do the research. For example, when we were walking through the park and asking the children here of what would they like to see in our park. And so many of them told us that they'd love to see a skate park, you know, a place where they could use their skateboards. So Mary and I, we started traveling around doing our research on the internet, and we started looking at skate parks all over the place. We went to cross over to Camas, and they told us how they would have to take, you know, several buses across town to go to a skate park here in Oregon. And, you know, they'd have to have their parents' permission and stuff like that. So then when we had our retreat, I brought that to the council at that time. And, you know, it's been on the agenda to possibly have a skate park in here, and it hopes to do that. And I still hope that we can do something like that in the future. So it's on there. Hopefully one day we'll be able to do that. And it's always my enjoyment to be able to agree and disagree. And at one time we had a council where we had a mayor that he would not let us disagree with one another. And we would end up staying here until 11 o'clock at night sometimes, where we had to go his way or it would be the highway. And, you know, we talked about that and said, hey, it's okay that we can vote against each other and still be friends. And I've noticed that this council right now, with the four of you, you've been split and you guys all get along. And I think that heritage has followed down because of that same kind of great leadership. And I would want to be in that same boat as four of you.
Mark, what do you consider important factors in the group decision-making process?
Can you read that one more time?
What do you consider important factors in the group decision-making process?
I've kind of answered that in what I just described before, but trying to elaborate on that would be to listen to what is being presented, ask questions, be completely open-minded for sure, and be eligible to be swayed, absolutely. And especially listen to the citizens. I think that is so important. Do not come in here with any thought that you're going to make a decision based on just on what I would think. Listen to what these people out here have to say. Try to do your absolute best to what your citizens want.
What do you believe are the most important issues facing the community at this time?
There are so many things that our citizens are facing. Wondering if are we headed to war? Is the economy going to last? Gasoline, I notice, has gone up another 15 cents in the last couple of weeks. We're at $4.99 and right down the street here. It's tough, and it's getting tougher every day. I think that if we can do anything to support people in their efforts to be able to get to and from work, for example, when we wrote letters to TriMet to get the bus to stay and come in front of Walmart, I think that was a big deal, and keep it there. When they were doing the 227th underpass, because they did temporarily bring it here, we wrote and we called them. We talked to then the executive director of TriMet. We talked to him at an open session that they had about keeping that there because of the people needing to go to Walmart. And we knew that he listened because it's still there now. They didn't put it back underneath there after they spent the $21 million to make that bridge possible so that they could go underneath that. I would love to see us having these cross streets. Why can't we put a bus up the hill on 238? That'd be one of my biggest goals to be able to do. And down Gleason Street. Why can't we have that? So these are the type of things that I would like to see us be pushing for, is public transportation for starters. That's just right off the top of my head, is to continue that effort. You know, think metro, but act local would be. Was that the last question? Because if there was something that I would like to do for us local right here, we spent $100,000 for our integration policy or integration thing. And one of the things that didn't come across from our old city hall to this one was our goals that we had up on our wall. I read them every time I was in city hall as a counselor, and I don't see them up here. And I would love dearly to have that back up on the wall again, so that it would be a constant reminder to me as a city councilor of what it is that I serve here for. So that would be my number one thing that I'd like to see here.
It wasn't the last question,
It was the last question? Okay.
but Councilor.
Yeah. What else would you like to tell us, Mark, about how and why you would like to serve the community here? So it's just kind of, if there's anything else, I'm sorry, I was not tracking that question. And so is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Oh, I just love all of our community events. Oh my gosh. It is so much fun to serve and come to every single one of them. I just absolutely love doing that. Our Easter egg basket give out. It was such a pleasure for me to come and serve on that. Oh my goodness, that's just an absolute blast to do. And, you know, I can hardly wait to where we can go back to the park of doing the Easter egg, watching the children come to that. But what we did for the drive-through, oh my goodness, that was just heartwarming. So all of our events that we do, that was a real struggle at first. And you guys putting that into a budget and making that a budget item, that it has its own department. I don't know if that was done when I was on the council or not, and how many years that's been done. If that was done just as I left or what, but that was absolutely a pinnacle thing in my opinion. I realize it's probably frivolous for a city to do that, but I think it was just absolutely marvelous. So there you have it.
There's
Yeah.
just a little bit of time to catch up on our answers and our scoring. Just 1 second, and then
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the next person that we'll invite up is going to be Charles Carter.
I think you chose to be there.
I make foolish decisions. No, I'm kidding.
Charles, to make you wait. So I'd imagine it's a weighty and complicated decision that we have to make tonight on the benefit of the city. So.
I don't know whether to feel like I'm cheating because I'm going second after Mark, or feeling like, wow, he had great answers to everything. And
I think this time, so that Councilor Minor doesn't have to ask 2 questions every time, we'll start at the other end of the question number 1 with Councilor Rios Campos.
I've been memorizing number 3.
You can keep 3 and we'll just add another one on there. All right. Oh, of course. Thank you.
Everybody ready to proceed? Okay.
letting him do the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that. Mr. Crowder, if you would like, you can have up to 1 minute to let us know tonight why you decided to apply for appointment.
I honestly applied because I saw the position open. Really as simple as that. I've been on Parks Commission almost 10 years now and felt like this would be a great opportunity to kind of try out what city council would be like without, as odd as that sounds, the commitment of the full term. It'd be a test run. I've always thought about trying for city council. I've never in the past had the time that I felt I could devote to it. Now I'm at a point in life where I feel like I have the time. Only one kid at home now, I have a 4. And feeling like my business is at a point where I can run it without being there for 14 hours a day. I'm ready. I'm ready to take on something new. So this came up and I thought it was just a great way to do a trial run. So that's why I'm here.
All right. What in your background, personal, professional, draws you to want to serve the city as a city councilor?
Make that more of a who am I and why am I here question. Charles Crowder, I'm down the street, I'm on Elm, it's the Purple House. I've been hanging out there now for almost 20 years. Coming up this August, I'll be celebrating my 44th birthday and my 20th year of homeownership. Very, very proud to be a Wood Villageite, or however you say that. It's a great community. It's a great place to live. I love knowing my neighbors. I love seeing the community grow. I've loved seeing where it's been since I bought my house to where it is today. And everybody I've seen, both in the city staff and the council, and my neighbors in the neighborhood, I haven't come across a bad person. Everybody's really cool here. And I couldn't imagine a better place to live.
Technical term is village people.
Village people. Which one would I be? Professionally, I should probably go into what qualifications I may have. I'm currently an owner of a print shop. I'm right up here in Gresham. I've been doing that 4.5-ish years now. Prior to that, I was a visual merchandising and marketing manager for a shoe store. Did that for almost 10 years. It was a barrel of fun. Had 200 stores I was in charge of. Everything you saw visually in the store, including the print items, go figure, I was in charge of. So now that kind of progressed to, well, now I just make the print stuff and design for a lot of other small businesses to large businesses to cities and all over the area here. Previous to that, I was in a lot of retail management since the age of 18. That's what I did. I have 4 girls, 3 of them are out of the house now. One's down in California, just visited her, went to Disney, it was awesome. One's in Hawaii, she didn't get to go, that's too far away. One still lives at home, she's 14, she's going to Reynolds High just like the rest of them. And one of them is down the street in Troutdale, living on her own in an apartment, and she works for me at the shop. So that's me in a nutshell, and that's where it's at.
All right, what is your definition of leadership and how would you show your leadership style on the council?
I love this question. I feel like I'm interviewing for a retail job. It's to maximize profits and reduce expenses. No. I would say definition of leadership is more like being a really good parent. It's somebody you can come to that you know is going to help you find the answer and get the job done. In this position, I heard the question when Mark was asked, and I kind of thought about that a little bit too, because leadership seemed like an odd term. I don't know if I would view a council position as a leadership position as much as I would a representative position. I'm not here to accomplish a goal. I'm not here to make money for the city. I would be here to be a representative of the community. And that's part of why I applied. I felt like being here as long as I have, I could be a good representative, a good voice, and a really good listener for everybody in the community.
I will ask Counselor Nissen's former favorite question. What do you consider important factors in the group decision-making process?
Group decision-making, I'm going to say probably listening would be the key first. Separating fact from thought or opinion would be another big. Discussing and deliberating with others, whether that's in a debate type style or whether we're all on the same page about something. I feel that that conversation still has to be had. That helps open up and broaden the position, even if all of us here agreed that, yes, the sun is over here and it's setting, but let's talk about that for a second to make sure we're on that same page. And compromising. So I get that a lot and learned that lesson a lot from having some kids.
And, Mark, did you say compromise?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Charles, thank you. Yeah, kids, pretty soon you start compromising, that's for sure. You just get, beat
You
to
have to.
death. Let's see, I got the next question. What do you believe are the most important issues facing our community at this time?
That's a really tough question. I don't see issues that are smacking me in the face at the moment. As a community, I see a community that's growing, but I'm seeing really a community in the city that's doing a really good job of it. In the last 20 years, I've seen the engagement be a little higher. I've seen the communication be a little higher, especially in the senses of the different languages, the different diversities and minorities, I think are being communicated to and engaged a little better. But I feel like all of that could be expanded still a lot more. I think there's still a long road to go. But it's miles difference in the last several years. Issues facing the city itself, I think with more listening to what residents need, what residents want, that would help answer that question itself. And I'm not sure I'm the person that could answer it.
Okay. Thank you.
What else would you like to tell us about how and why you would serve the community?
I think I kind of addressed that one in the beginning, really. I mean, I'm here feeling more like I would like to be a representative of the citizens. And something that I could do more is help maybe engage citizens more. That's really about the gist of it.
Thank you very much, Charles. We'll take the same time we took after Mark in order to catch up on the recording your answers and interpreting our score sheet.
Thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. And ahead of time, aren't we? Little break.
One thing I should let everybody know, we have a fourth candidate. She was actually the third one to apply, and but recently we started putting times back on our agenda. One, sort of in an effort to keep on, and two, people knew maybe when they had to be here for their part of the agenda and how much time they had. And I'm going to borrow your hard copy here. So we had originally told Dara to expect to be interviewed at about 7:25. And of course, we're well ahead of that. And so that's likely why she's not. Linnea, if you're amenable, we'd go ahead and call you up and have you in the third slot. Okay.
I gotta finish up.
All right. Sure. Just give me the high sign whenever everybody's ready. Start again with the council. Sit in the spot where I have to answer 2 questions.
Ready?
We're gonna give
Okay, so
her,
you get your, sorry,
Your minute and a half.
up to a minute to let us know why it is you decided to apply for the position.
Sure. Okay. Hi, my name's Linnea Amond. It's pronounced Linnea, not Linnea. And
Sorry.
no,
Linnea.
it's totally fine. It's spelt like Linnea. So Linnea Amond. I decided to apply for the city council. I had to think about it. Honestly, I could, because I know it's a big commitment. And I took to think about it. And one of the reasons why I was even interested in the first place is my family values. They've always been in civil service and social service. And that's never been something that's spoken in my family. It's just like, that's what we do. We help our neighbors, and we, you know, kind of ingrained in me. And also when there's a reasonable request made to help your community, you can do that, you should. And I decided to apply.
Okay. So this is an expansion on that, if you'd like. What in your background, personal or professional, draws you to want to serve the city as a city councilor?
Mentioned my personal reasons why, and I've been a lifelong citizen. I was born and raised in Gresham, and immediately when I was starting to look for a house and I saw the house that I have now on the market, I immediately knew I wanted to put in an offer. I wanted to live here, the park, everything just sense. It's close to my folks. There's a lot of different reasons, but I also just knew like this is a good community that's cared for, that people care for one another. And so, and being on the Parks Commission, just in the short time that I've been on the Parks Commission, has really clarified that for me as well. I've also spent my entire career in social service, including victims advocacy, community justice, affordable healthcare, and most recently, the library. I work for the library now, and the library has really helped me clarify they're fiercely committed to citizens' right to privacy and right to access, and it's really clarified that for me. It's the right to privacy has really helped clarify that working at the library. Throughout my career, I've seen people at the worst days of their lives and the best days of their lives, and had the privilege and the impact of being with them about that. So I would say that what prepares me.
Question number 2 is, what is your definition of leadership? And how would you show your leadership style on council?
Definition of leadership is someone who shows their values through action. That doesn't necessarily mean a good leader or a bad leader, but I strongly feel you show your values and you show what you're committed to through. My leadership style is, I would say, I guess by example. If I'm not willing to do something, why would I expect someone else to be willing to do it? And that includes supporting all laws and policies. There's been a number of policies throughout my career or laws throughout my career that don't make sense, but it's my job as a public servant. It's my job. Government work is to support those and support them enthusiastically and support them the best that I can. And I would also say of that is addressing my own privilege and bias, like white, straight, you know, and understanding that with that comes bias, with that comes things that I can't see about other people's lives or that I might not immediately think. And it's really important for me to show that not only myself, but through my actions to other people.
Council Minor.
You forget it already?
There's no pictures.
Working on that.
What do you consider important factors in the group decision-making process?
First thing I wrote down for an important factor for decision-making is conflict. I haven't always felt that way, to be honest with you, but the more that I experience and the more experience I have and the more learning that I do, conflict is one of the most important group decision-making process. And the reason why is if I'm arguing passionately about something and you're arguing passionately about something, I may educate you about something you haven't thought of and vice versa. And that is where we land on what makes sense to all of us. So without conflict, I mean, I know we can make decisions, no conflict, but also I think some of the best decisions that I've made in a group have been hotly debated before we've made that decision. I also feel general consensus, like obviously we're going to go, with a democratic process, but considering all stakeholders, especially the impact to everyone in our community. This might be a great decision, but we have to also consider what impacts might not be considering, making sure that the full manifestation of those decisions are what we actually want to see, and then addressing them if they're not. So I guess the ability to self-criticize as a group.
What do you believe are the most important issues facing the community this time?
A lot of what I wrote down, Representative Hudson, Zach spoke about. Affordable housing. I think a lot of this is just like what communities I think generally want and generally need, citizens want, but affordable housing, safety is really important, good paying jobs, healthcare. I also wrote in the 2020 census, it says 46% of Wood Village households have kids 18 and under. So I wrote affordable childcare as well. I feel that's very important. It's important to me as a single mom, and I know my neighbors and their families. Digital inclusion is also really important, and especially with the pandemic, like seeing the digital divide, meaning access to devices, internet, free, affordable internet access and tech support is also extremely important to citizens being able to increasingly virtual world. Transportation, emergency management, especially with climate crisis. It's not a matter of if we're going to crisis as a community. I feel like it's just a matter of when and how prepared we are for that. Social justice, quality education. I would illustrate with an example. I walk almost every day, and a neighbor stopped me and she was, feel safe walking around here? And I said, yes, I absolutely do. And I thought to myself, if I don't, that's a problem. I always want to be able to be living in a as safe as I can as a woman existing in the world. But if I don't feel safe, that's when I need to start talking to people. This is why I don't feel safe. This is what's going on. This is why my neighbors don't feel safe. So underscore the safety as well.
It's kind of like counting off 1, 2, 3, and you forget what your number is. Renee, here's your last question. And what else would you like to tell us about how and why you would serve this community? How and why you would like to serve this community?
How and why I'd like to serve this community?
Yes.
I'd like to, the how is I would like to serve authentically. The best I can be of myself and what I can give to other people about my opinions and to about my experience. Why is I'm committed to individual and human rights, safety for all of us. Also having fun together, I think is really important. And the candidate or other candidates mentioned that as well. I think it's really important that, you know, besides all the business and resources we have to do, is that we're actually having fun. And those events seem really great. And also my neighbors, a few months ago, I was here at the city council meeting. Someone walked in. Later, I was thinking about, like, of course, it's very important to pledge our allegiance to the flag, and that's an important part of the American experience, but also, like, what if I pledge that to my neighbors? What if I said, I pledge to you that I will make sure your family's safe, that I care about you, that I care about how you feel, that I, you know, like, what if I made that pledge and we made that pledge to each other, not only the flag, but if I could, this is what I will do. And I will prioritize, besides, you know, my family and my job, I will prioritize that city council person, and feel that that commitment and that pledge is one of my top priorities, whether or not I serve here.
Thank you. Ms. Corn.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Greg, aren't you going to cue the Jeopardy song at this point?
Yeah, well, you know, and yeah,
20
there's still 20 minutes and we have, kudos to all of you in that you answered the questions well, and you displayed a level of sort of brevity and conciseness that sometimes this council, in particular myself, are not known for. And so we are well ahead of schedule. And the deliberation to appoint the new counselor is the rest of our agenda. And so, you know, once we would our scores, questions that you might have scoring, and we would find who has the highest score. One thing, Greg did have an agenda item that was an addition.
Yeah, I do have some
Yep.
stuff to fill in the
Yep,
time.
maybe we can go over that.
Oh, you gotta be one of those guys, huh?
It's an unusual night because it's you know, it's all you for the most part, and so there weren't a lot of staff reports or anything like that for this evening, but yeah, you don't have to stay. I mean, it's totally up to you, but yeah.
So what I have is Multnomah County approached us with, it's not really an IGA, it's more of a contract for service, and it's the low income housing water program that they'll be rolling out starting July 1st. A lot of other counties actually already implemented this back in January and have spent those dollars through the federal ARPA funds to essentially help low income housing with essential utility bills. While we have our utility assistance program, the county is actually rolling into more of a comprehensive service program. So basically we sign the agreement, and if they get an eligible household, then the agreement says we provide them information necessary to pay their bill, and we don't shut them off while it's in the process, et cetera, et cetera. based on our conversations with those that'll be running the program, they don't plan to advertise it much. They anticipate the dollars being spent very quickly, most likely in the Portland region. But what we didn't want to do is not do it because of, maybe some bureaucratic hoops and whatnot that we don't tend to do ourselves, but that some person could, through maybe a social worker, caseworker, some other avenue, get linked in this program like, oh, we can't help you with this because the city didn't sign up. So basically, it's not quite an IGA, but I didn't want to bind us without bringing it to the council's attention and kind of getting the council nod to go ahead and sign the agreement. It costs us nothing, and most likely staff time would be very minimal.
Although one of the things I did mention to Greg is that while the county doesn't want to promote the program for fear that the money might.
Our people
Yeah,
taken care of.
Exactly.
Tell
And so,
Portland a pound sand.
so we'll promote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put it on the website and let people know. Particularly in light of, we talked about, talked about using our capital projects once we see what. And so this just seems like a natural way to continue on with potential.
Yeah.
Yep. Certainly something, because our program will end June 30. This starts July 1. If we get calls and it's kind of beyond our normal assistance, or we want to provide a different avenue, we will certainly tell people about the program.
Yeah.
So they have their own application process.
Correct.
and
Own
all those
application
things.
verification, a whole structure and framework. Then what we do is we get notified that someone has applied, please, withhold, suspend your shutoffs or what you maybe while they review the application. Once it's reviewed by board or whomever on there, and we get notified that it either will or will not be granted. And then it's up to 45 days if they say it's granted to get us the money. So, I mean, in our utility system, we do arrangements all the time. So that's really not a big a deal, especially given we don't anticipate a lot. I mean, certainly our applications for assistance are, so given the two factors of you have to go through someone else's process, I don't know what it is. We can't get that information. And just that we have, we've caught a lot of people up already.
There obviously not a motion, but I think a thumbs up would be enough for Greg. to proceed.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I do have one other matter. Again, we have some time. Sent you all, the email last week in the weekly update about Kirsten's situation, and it was not as we hoped. It is stage 4 cancer. Measure that in months if you want. I mean, people have been known to live a good long while, and we have a great oncology team and everything. They're going to do what they can. Just know that my priorities will be different, especially in the shorter term as we kind of navigate this new path. And so I know the next 2 agendas are really full, but I think it would be very helpful end of June, first part of July, maybe sitting down part of a council agenda, talking over what are important priorities, what are the things that we have to do and how we can do them, what are the things that we'd really like to get done, and what are some of those things that, they can push a little bit or look a little differently or take a little longer than we thought. Or you could say, well, Craig, we're doing these things whether you're here or not. I mean, that is clearly your choice. But based on previous conversation, it seems like you'd be very willing to work with a kind of an unknown question mark for the next few months as we navigate what time looks like.
Greg, I certainly appreciate what you're saying. And I know that this council, when we've gone through the annual, your APP, we know there's a lot of things that are on that. We know that we add other items to there. So I certainly think a conversation about that, and whenever we need to have it. But I would certainly be supportive of understanding that there are some things that we don't, that are optional on that. I mean, there's things that don't have to, they're not time critical. So I certainly will speak for myself on this, that I want to see us make sure that you have the time you need to do. I believe that the city can manage Not that you're not important to be here, not that at all.
Tough line. I
But-
can't say that the city can run without me, but I can't say it can't run without me either. So
A good leader leaves the
I
organization.
can be gone intermittently.
Yeah, but anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Absolutely.
I would even say, you know, if we need to, next couple of agendas, if you need, you know, I would be open to pushing anything, in the next couple of agendas back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, budget, we've got to get the budget. We've already committed to House Bill 2001, already committed to at least bringing back tiny homes and what we've heard from the community outreach portion. So I mean, those things, I feel like we need to honor what we said we're going to do. Past that, I think, there's time to talk about other priorities and necessities.
Greg, could you, as you look at it, I'd certainly like to hear from you also on the items that you could manage later. And that from your perspective, it is not so time sensitive that it has to occur here immediately. That would be helpful for me, but I really want you to use your judgment myself.
Yeah, I think, I'll certainly work with the management team. They're aware of the situation and kind of, again, who has capacity to do what does that look like? Because again, my personal tragedy, my personal life shouldn't impact the future of the city. I mean, the city still has to grow and continue and thrive regardless of what happens. And I do appreciate the ability to take, some time or, a step back to enjoy what I still got while I have it.
And as you look at that, maybe the exercise could be to indicate the things that have absolute deadlines, like clearly has to be adopted by 6:30. House Bill 2001, if we're going to be, allowed to do the changes that we have proposed, then we have to adopt it before state code takes effect and we fall victim. But like the tiny homes, like you say, reporting back to what we heard, the only step we need to take in that process. Doesn't have to be legislation. It can be an ongoing thought process. So, maybe just look at specific deadlines where we're in serious trouble.
Like the night out because someone's leaving.
Yeah,
That's the other sort of interim time announcement to go over.
Don't worry, we'll have her do all the presentations on the 26th, that way she doesn't miss out. Who we are. That's all I really had. So I chewed up a good 10 minutes, but sorry, I couldn't stretch it a little further.
Well, I'm going to take it.
Sure. Yeah, I would encourage anyone if you need to. Anything like that. Now's the time.
The splash pad is open.
That's true. Yeah. Yep, it is.
Is that where you're going?
The jacket would start smelling.
I saw you got up really quick, so I was like, man, he's going for it.
I took it out of my pocket earlier because it wasn't. Turned it on then, but no, it's off again. I'll just leave it on the counter. It's like, being at home when my wife has her headphones on. I'm used to not being heard necessarily anyway, so. Yeah, I'm sorry. Speak louder too. It's one thing about the splash pad, you don't have to take off all your clothes, but you do have to take off your shoes because it's only activated by bare skin. That was the funny story that we can tease Greg about because he's gone right now, is that he would go out with shoes on and he'd hit the sensor and some water would come out and then it'd stop immediately. And so we actually had the contractor out like 3 times to see what was wrong with the splash pad. And then the contractor saw him try to turn it on. And he said, no, you gotta take your shoes off. You have to hit the sensor with bare skin or it won't stay on. We learned about the splash pad after.
That must be the California model.
It's Yeah, but it is, it's up and running. So if also, if you, if your phone starts to go dead, we have the benches up now that will charge your phone for you. We have wireless, free wireless throughout the park.
Through most of the park.
Well, it's, I mean, it's like anything else. A significant number of trees is going to ability to get good reception, but throughout most of the park, we are, the council for a couple of years now actually is considering ways that we can expand it throughout the city and that we control. And then Lene, you mentioned the digital equity and access. I'm proud that we just finished our second Welcome to Computers class, where partner with Metro East Community Media. The city buys the computers, and if a person comes to every class, actively participates, they get to take the computer home for free. Are working on putting devices in the two reports that have come out over the past couple of years. One on the county potentially delivering broadband as a utility, being a provider. And found was that the cost estimate was about $1 billion, which is not insurmountable necessarily. And I understand that, still a group that's working on some planning. But we decided at that point in time to see what we could do in lieu of that, in our city. Second report, I serve as representative on the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. We are negotiating a new 10-year rights-of-way contract with Comcast on behalf of all but one of the Multnomah County City Parks, not a part of the commission. And so we did a community needs ascertainment study, about 18 months long, part, scientifically verifiable study done by a professional research firm, and then abundant amount of workshops and public events, a lot of it with nonprofits for particular determine their needs. So that report's out there, about 240. And it talks a lot about how there aren't devices in homes. That's one of the things that inspired this Welcome to Computers. It took the commission a long time to learn that. For a decade, they had the TechSmart initiative, where they granted about $17 million to school districts in Multnomah County. Very first grant was to Park Rose, and it was just hardware and then enhancements to spread the wireless around the Park Rose High School campus. And we were asking about their textbook rotation and how far off of it they were and how little money they had to do it, and would they be able to do device rotation. They thought at that point in time that devices were, ubiquitous, and they wouldn't have to replace them because kids would come to school with their own. It took us a while, but sort of towards the end of that TechSmart initiative, when we started that community needs asset, we learned that that wasn't true, and just how many homes didn't have a device, or maybe the only device in the home was a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Joining a council, any one of you that's trying to learn what we can do in that sphere to sort of ameliorate some of the problems. City, not necessarily, but we do promote the opportunities that are available right now, because the state provided some resources, and those resources are posted on our website.
Yeah, I think there's a state program, a federal program, and then the one is directly through the provider. And we try to let people know about them, understanding that, that they're not always optimal packages, for the folks, but it's still better than 0 megabits per second. Or they don't have a device to take advantage of it fully.
yeah, a lot of people in the community need the ascertainment study. The majority actually said that the best price for the affordable price for broadband for them would be free. Comcast Internet Essentials program, while it is relatively inexpensive at $10, it's 25 down, 3 up, so it barely meets the minimum definition of broadband service. And 3 up, I think, proved to be problematic for people that were having to turn in homework, you know, from four different devices in a home during the distance learning.
One for the one we have here, the free one at the parks, 100 up, 100 down synchronous. Now, granted, the more users you get on that, the more it narrows the bandwidth, but that's what we're providing here for users for free.
Next step that the council will discuss, but we haven't brought legislation, would be to talk about helping businesses along Halsey, for instance, to get like the Wi-Fi that you would find in a coffee shop, but maybe just a little bit more robust so that you could actually pick it up on the street. We've sort of drawn circles around the parts of Halsey where we think businesses that we could expand wireless in that area. You know, and when net neutrality felt like it was as much of an issue as actual access, you know, we set aside $40,000 to do a broadband study on whether or not we could provide it just in our city as a utility, even before PDX broadband came about and the county committee was formed. We contributed $10,000 of that effort to the county's, you know, ask of dollars from each city in order to conduct the study, and contributed $10,000 to that. We're the smallest city in the MHCRC, the second smallest in the county, and we made the second largest contribution.
And even though that study is done, the work group talking about things, again, regional coordination, federal funding, those kind of things to make sure that we're still all on the same page, trying to, you know, close the gap for all people. And it seems like a lot of the funding that comes either out of the state or federal, you know, reasonably, they go to more rural areas where they don't have any service at all versus areas, you know, in our metro region where it's more of an affordability issue, not necessarily infrastructure issue, whole different kind of barrier to try to cross. But the library was out last week looking at our smart benches and how we do our Wi-Fi because they want to launch that at their facilities too. All of them.
I'll quickly throw a plug in since we're throwing plug in. This Thursday is the PlayEase virtual fundraiser. So people are invited to participate if they'd like. You can visit fundraiser.playease.org, register for the webinar. And if you like to donate and give a contribution, you are more than welcome to.
Take Bitcoin, right?
We'll figure it out. Figure it out. I have a very savvy finance director, so. No, like I said, we'll make it work.
At least I would love that.
No, she wouldn't.
We reached Dara's time on the agenda, but, you know, just ask all of you for some indulgence. We'll wait a couple more minutes if that's okay.
Yes, please do. I don't know.
I don't know.
I forgot that middle verse. If you can refresh my memory.
Yeah, it changes every time. I usually just get started and I get told to stop.
2 years and you don't have it down, Em?
She tells me
Well,
to stop.
Before you leave, you need to sing that.
That's your exit interview. And if you don't remember it right, sorry, can't leave.
Sorry. Nope, it's a solo.
Yeah.
I have a question. Would you find any value in saying to have like, open house, come meet your council, or like a barbecue in the summer, come talk to your council, that is not this setting here? Would you find value?
We'll go in seniority, not including the mayor, because I've talked about myself in the newsletter. So we'll start, the first one will be council president Nissen.
Counselor
The
Minor is
deadline-
actually more senior than I am.
Well, more senior,
June?
but it doesn't have the length of tenure.
Oh,
Yeah.
So your deadline's June. You gotta get your piece in by June.
Yeah, Charles, I think that's a great idea. And I think that one thing, you might do in addition to talking about, how long you've served and why, maybe just reflect on these questions that we've asked of the potential appointee, have that be each of our structure.
It's a starting point at least.
Yeah.
And that's most of the time we ran unopposed. For the most of us have run unopposed, and except I did have 27 votes against me, even though I was unopposed.
Yeah, I had
It's a tough
There
care.
was Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and my dad.
And my dad.
yeah,
Eligibility concerns with, Disney characters.
2012, there were 3 of us on the ballot, all unopposed. And I got the fewest votes of any of them. And, but in 2020, I was unopposed and I got 400 more votes than I did in 2012. So I like to think that means I did an okay job, but I might be fooling myself.
More votes better than less.
I mentioned earlier that I came to council by appointment as well. Mark was on the council then that chose me. There were 2 of us, Pat Anderson and myself. And then, so I had to be on the ballot in 2012. I ran unopposed. 2016, I was not on the ballot. The seat was wide open. Of 122 write-in votes, I got 9. That was the most. Maybe not Donald Duck, but Scrooge McDuck by 5 votes. And so, so I told the city and the county that I would take another term. Was on the ballot again in 2020. So come to council right about every way you can. Appointed, written in, and elected. End of my term, this term will mark 15 years of service to the city if you count 2009 to 11 period when I was on the planning commission.
Oh, it counts.
And actually, I still serve as the council liaison to the planning commission. I make more meetings than not. But I suppose that's another way we can kill a little bit of time. I did send out to council this weekend 3 emails. So I am going to resign from the Play East board this week after the fundraiser. One that if you're appointed tonight or if you're not, and you're still looking for something to do, there could be an opening on the board. And then also Jairo Rios Campos, Councilor Rios Campos and I have switched spots on the Main Streets on Halsey board. He's going to be the full member and I will be the alternate. My term on the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, my current term ends on June the 30th. Let council know and staff know that I'm not going to seek reappointment to that board. And Lene, your answers tonight proved who I might first target in order to take that role. They, like I say, they negotiate the rights of way contracts with the cable providers. They're also the sort of the public service. If you have a disagreement with the cable companies and you're unable to come to a resolution, we're the customer service agent for that, and the enforcement agent if they're not living up to their contracts. And then I mentioned the TechSmart initiative, which was grants to school districts. That was a decade long. It's actually ended, but we still do, depending on how much money we have, about $800,000 to $1.2 million in community competitive grants to nonprofits. We've overhauled some of the qualifications to focus more on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to get a grant, you have to demonstrate how you're going to serve a community that's traditionally been underserved. And so it's a process that I really enjoy, is evaluating those grants. It's a 4-year term. They meet usually 7 out of the 12 months. Everyone's required to be on a committee. I started on finance. That's where most people start. So that's 3 extra meetings in the budget period. And then they have a retreat. Now there's a community needs and diversity, equity, and inclusion subcommittee. I'd share that currently. And that's a spot that would be open to when my term ends.
That position can be anybody within.
Anyone within the community doesn't have
within the
exactly.
community. So if there's somebody else out there that's interested in step up and be appointee or the representative.
Yeah, my guess is that'll be something in our July newsletter
Yep.
of kind of available slots for these more regional boards.
Experience in applications or things like that, not necessarily a requirement. It interested me when Councilor Dirks asked me if I'd be willing to go on. And I didn't replace another councilor. I did replace a Wood Village citizen, Clark Santee, Emmy Award winning producer. And he was on there because he knew exactly what their mission was and wanted to be. And I replaced him without that wealth of knowledge or experience, and think that I did okay. So.
Greg, let me just ask you a question, following up with your update. Conversations with the county, dealing with the 238th,
Yeah.
bill, and the agreement that might come together so we can complete these crosswalks.
Mhm.
That sounded optimistic to me.
Yes. Yeah, we plan to take it, I think it's June 16th council meeting to have a full debrief on that, but it sounds very good. And basically it's codifying, yes, we want to put in 6 crosswalks. They will be supportive of that and not take 2 years for design. And the additional part was actually doing some curb ramps as well, bringing
Yes.
up, so they've rated the curbs in the city, well, actually the whole county jurisdiction, 1 through 5. 1s are higher priority, 5s are lower, and we'd be responsible doing 4 priority 1 curb ramps as well. So the thought is around 238th, since the Main Streets on Halsey plan is an urban renewal and it's a very active pedestrian corridor there.
did some of that stuff on the Stark and Hogan.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that's as, you know, coming out of a muck tuck, one of the goals, and they had some funding for those, is to, across this area, throughout the East County area, improve those handicap.
Yeah, and we're not on the list for any of those for the next couple years, but that doesn't mean we can't go find our own funding to do
Yeah.
them. There's nothing in the agreement that says city can't get grants to do it.
Yeah, well, it sounded, it really sounded positive to me.
It really
Make
was
progress.
probably the best outcome we could get that preserves a partnership and also then still enhances the transportation system as a whole. And, you know, we get what we want, we get support for what we want, and they feel good about it.
Yeah, well, that's great.
That gonna help light the fire under them with the design work?
I hope so. I mean, and to be fair, part of it really is they've had a lot of turnover, especially in their engineering department, and they just did hire another engineer last week. So hopefully they have like 2 total that work on projects. So
They seem to go through more engineers and personnel in the roads
Conversation will
department,
be
all
on.
through Errata. It was just.
new
constant-
person every.
Yeah,
I think it's, you know, in talking with, if John were here, that's where he worked. I think it's a tough environment. There's a lot of pressure put on the individuals there, especially given not talking ill of the county, just where county bigger
Really,
priorities
I
are.
really think
Transportation
Joe
isn't one of them. You know, inside the bulk of the county is city of Portland. They don't do their roads there. They're just responsible for the bridges. So you're looking at more of a service oriented organization for the county, not necessarily transportation related. So, I mean, I get the tension and the struggle, and, you know, those that are there, you know, I think they really do try to do good things. It's just working with a system not built for that. Not that they're not built for doing good things, not built for focusing on transportation. Wanted to clarify that one.
Well, and you know, it's, you know, clearly you came here to join a council, not an improv team. This is the first ad lib council meeting we've had, but we've actually talked about some wonderful stuff and relayed a lot of really great information. But we are about 15 minutes past Dara's time slot. So I think that we should go ahead with the voting. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is just have us go through and say our scores by individual and then total, and then have someone be writing down the totals and just total the 4 responses, and whoever has the highest score will be our new counselor. So we'll go ahead and start with Mark Clark's score with Counselor Minor.
Thank you. Well, let me, before we start, I'm telling you, it's, we've had 3 great candidates here tonight, and I get to talk first. Really 3 great candidates. And as we go through here, looking at our questions and matching questions then to our scoring guide, there's no way that anybody can answer these questions as thoroughly as they'd like. And everybody always thinks about something they should have said or might have said. But we need to score this based on what we've heard here tonight and the questions. But I will say that we can't lose in this one. So Mark, I have 26 for Mark. You want me to go across the board, or do you want me to go down?
How do you want to score that? Yeah,
I think if we just
yeah,
do
everybody's score.
each candidate and
All right.
then
Okay.
Just
cycle through again.
I got a total of 26 for Mark. Charles, I have you scored at 21. Lene, I have you scored at 28.
And I just want to echo what Counselor Minor said. You're all 3 impressive candidates. And in fact, there's only 3 points between my highest score and my lowest score of the 3. So very hard decision. For Mark Clark, I had 25 points. For Charles Crowder, I had 24 points. And for Linnea Amend, I had 27 points.
My biggest concern is 2 out of the 3 candidates are on the Parks Commission, and step up to city council.
we're gonna have to go on the hunt for another Parks Commissioner.
He said no, three.
All three
three?
are, yeah, all three are. Yeah.
Yeah,
So one way or the other, we're gonna have to go on the hunt for another
get-
Parks Commissioner.
you had the concept right.
I've only got 9 fingers. I'm glad I'm not
Yeah,
doing the math.
you've seen, well, yeah, I was gonna say, you've seen his math and now he's gonna give you his score, so.
Somebody better double check. But no, I appreciate all three of you throwing your name in the hat and coming out tonight. And I echo the sentiment of the other two that we're winning no matter which one of you three ends up joining us. Mark, I've got you a score of 24, Charles 26, and Lene 26.
Yeah, so I also want to say thank you all for just stepping up and wanting to be in. Yeah, we can't lose. So I got Mark 28, Charles 28.
Give me a minute and I'll run the mathematics.
You gotta get one of those.
I want to give the full numbers. It's not awful. Math.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, normally.
We should have said this.
Was in charge of the tabulation.
Yeah, but I count my halves. It takes a while.
Okay, so we have 103 for Mark Clark, 99 for Mr. Crowder, and then 111 for Lene.
Not to get too technical, but we still have to have a motion.
We have to do the nomination, yeah.
All right. So I would entertain a motion then to appoint our highest scorer.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we appoint Lene Amend to council.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. And
Congratulations.
Again.
Thank you to everyone. We have you on the May 26th agenda for swearing in.
Do you want to adjourn the meeting or?
Yeah, well, I was going to say congratulations too, but thought maybe we were all standing up to do that, but that's a great idea. We've completed the agenda. So we'll adjourn.
Then I thought we could then talk, you know.
Sure. We went to the bathroom on the meetings. We talked about our future plans at the meeting. We can talk with people at the meeting.